everybody, this is Diane Sansom. In my last video, I talked about how important it is to discover our core values and how that can help us to lead more satisfying and fulfilling lives. So today I want to talk about a close cousin of our values, and that's our passions. In my work as a coach, I have worked with men and women in all over the world, really, not just US, but also a lot of people in Europe and even in the Middle East. And that's because I had just the amazing privilege to work for one of the largest coaching and leadership companies in the world. And so my purpose for sharing that with you is because there's a commonality that I see that I think is important to share with you. And that's this. I don't care if you're a CEO or you're starting a school for children, you're a man, you're a woman, I don't care what country you're from, there's something that I see that we all have in common anytime anytime we start to notice that there's a growing discontent in our lives. And what is that? It's that we have begun to let the busyness of life take over, and that becomes our priority. And what's happening is we start giving up and letting go of the things that once really mattered to us and really had us feel the most like ourselves. So when you think about it, our lives have to be about more than just our careers. I mean, we can't just work 80 hours a week and think we're going to be a holistic, whole, happy human being. We're also, some of us are musicians or artists or athletes or people that like to do projects and work with our hands. That's an important part of who we are at our core and what just makes us want to wake up every morning and be excited about the day. So show me a happy person and I'll show you somebody who's connected to the things that bring them joy. And that makes sense, right? So I've even seen this with kids. Years ago, when my own kids were young, I ran a music studio out of my home. I was teaching cello to children and adults ranging basically from age 8 to 82. And you can see passion emerging in people as young as 8 years old and even earlier. So, for example, when I think about the kids that came to my studio, some of them were there because their parents said, you know what, you're going to learn a string instrument. It's just part of your curriculum. Okay, that's cool. God bless those parents for, teaching, letting their kids learn how to play music. I love it. But if the kid didn't have a passion for playing the cello, and it's a hard instrument to learn, you got to stick with it for a while. If they don't have the passion, but let's say that they have some talent, they can learn technically how to play the cello. But let me tell you, when you listen to even like a perfect sounding beginner piece, if there's no passion behind it, I mean, this, it sounds flat, not to make a pun, but it's really missing something. But now think about a kid, and I'm thinking about many of these kids that ended up in my studio who were begging their parents not to play a string instrument, but they wanted to play the cello. They had heard a recording, they saw something on TV, there was a song they heard, and they really, really wanted to learn. Now, even if I had a kid like that who didn't maybe have as much talent as somebody else who didn't care as much, but they had that passion, oh my gosh, I could listen to them all day long compared to like a robotic kid who just really didn't care. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. And then, of course, when the adults came to my studio, they had really actively been thinking about something that they wanted to do. Some of them were retiring. But anyway, passion is something that's very inspiring and exciting to be around. So what about you? Have you ever been so engaged in an activity that you kind of got lost in the experience and you lost track of time? That's a wholehearted flow experience, and that's a great example of passion. So let's think about a couple of places that you could start to discover some of your passions if they've kind of been lost somewhere along the way. I recommend you kind of sit quietly or go for a walk. And I'm going to give you 3 questions that you can ponder. So one of them is, when the weight of the world is kind of off your shoulders, where do your thoughts and desires seem to turn again and again? So that's one category. Another question is, If time and resources weren't a concern, describe the things that you long to do. And you don't have to overthink it, just like jot down as many things as just come to you in the moment. And you can always go back and add. And then the third question I want you just to kind of, or invite you to think about is, think of one or two people that you've met who were really inspiring, and now think about what was it about them that was so inspiring. Because oftentimes what we think is inspiring somebody else is something that we want for ourselves. So in closing, I want to invite you to something wonderful. It's a TED Talk called The Transformative Power of Classical Music. It's by Benjamin Zander. It's a TED Talk. I think you could probably also find it on YouTube, but super inspiring. You're going to witness unbridled passion and enthusiasm by Benjamin Zander. He's amazing, but he's all about using music to help people open their minds and create more joyful harmonies that bring out the best in themselves and their colleagues. Passion's a big subject. It's a big part of my Woman on Purpose Mastery program. It's one of the key components in the bullseye that people create in my program around their why. So look forward to talking with you more next time. Go check out that video. You're going to love it. And thanks so much for joining me. Bye-bye.